We saw a great race between pole sitter Paul Aron and Red Bull Junior Isaac Hadjar.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Formula Regional Asian Championship. Race 10 has concluded, race 11 is about to start. Here is the championship standings coming into this one. Arthur Leclerc has 143 to Pepe Marti on 111, with Isaac Hadjar moving up to third in the standings after his brilliant victory yesterday. Dino Beganovic just 4 behind his teammate who is departed, Sebastian Montoya. Gabriele Mini climbs back up to 6th ahead of the departed Hadrian David. Jack Crawford and Lorenzo Flucha are still strong in the top 10, with our Abu Dhabi race winner Gabriel Bortoleto still in the top 10 after his solid start to the season. The Mumbai Falcons still lead the teams championship. A good run from them at the moment ahead of High Tech Grand Prix. A good 65 points clear of that team. Pinnacle Motorsport in third at the moment from the 3Y by Race GP team. Then Abu Dhabi Racing by PREMA, Evans GP, Black Arts Racing and the Evans GP Academy. All 8 teams have scored points at this point. So it is definitely going to be a very exciting run for all of the competitors as they run in position. So we are going to have the reverse grid race this morning, which is definitely going to shake things up a little bit. There were some changes to the running order after yesterday. Here is your track guide to the Dubai Autodrome Grand Prix circuit. Fast, flowing, technical and dusty. And today, it's a very dramatic change in the weather. Yesterday was hot, sunny and baking to a crisp. Today, it is cold, gloomy and murky. The clouds have come over Dubai Autodrome. There's even a slight percentage of chance that by the midpoint of the day, there could even be rain falling on the Dubai Autodrome circuit. That is a big shock to the system, and that's going to play havoc with the team's strategies and setup because their tyre pressures and strategies are all going to be taken into account for a dry setup. Look at the conditions compared to what we normally get. Normally, we are struggling to keep our eyes wide open from the glare of the sun. Today, it looks like a spring in France. It is very tricky at the moment for the drivers. The tyre temperatures will be very cool. It is 21 degrees air temperature, which is about 17 to 16 degrees in feel because the wind, as you can probably tell, looking at the UAE flag to the side of the track there, is very strong. Now, the wind is going very hard to blow the rain clouds over the circuit, but if they break in the middle of the race, we're going to have absolute pandemonium, especially when you consider that none of the drivers in this field have driven this car this season in the wet. Now, we have no idea whether the rain will fall. It is unlikely, so we should point out that it is unlikely we'll get rain, but when it rains here, it really rains here. I can remember a few years ago, the Dubai 24-Hour Sports Car Classic was stopped completely for a massive rain shower which flooded the pit lane completely. So it is a bigger problem if it does rain here, but it's so unlikely that obviously it's never usually on the cards. Francesco Braschi is the man who will start from pole position. He will be there from the front end of the grid. Patrick Pasma will line up alongside him on the front row. The 3-minute board has been called as the officials have now signalled to the mechanics to get off the grid. Delano Van Toff will line up in third position on the grid with Oliver Bearman in P4. Now, that's an interesting gesture from Oliver Bearman to the mechanics, just to get him signed off. The mechanics are clearing their positions, so we will go through the grid in full as they go around on their formation lap. But this is definitely going to be a very interesting and very intriguing battle from here on in, because we are going to be working very hard indeed as the battle will be quite intense. We're going to have some interesting races here. It's cooler than yesterday, certainly more chill than yesterday, but it is very unlikely that we are going to have a bit of a battle. So let's see how it prepares. We are going to have a very exciting run as the competitors come over the start-finish line. We will have a really interesting bit of racecraft in front of us. The green flag flies and the drivers will make our way around the course. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one from here on in. The formation lap begins and we can talk you through this reverse grid race. The top 10 from yesterday were reversed to form the grid for this one. So, on the front row of the starting grid, it is going to be Francesco Braschi who lines up on the front row. And alongside the 3Y by Race driver is going to be Patrick Pasma, race winner from last year. 3Y by Race and Evans GP drivers on the front row of the grid. Row 2, Delano Van Toff for Pinnacle and Oliver Bearman, the new boy at Mumbai Falcons Racing. Then Jack Crawford in 5th position alongside Gabriele Mini, race winner earlier this year at Abu Dhabi. Then Arthur Leclerc, championship leader alongside his closest opposition, Pepe Marti. Then we have Paul Aron Aron, and yesterday's winner, Isaac Hajar, who will line up 10th on the starting grid. Next up is Lorenzo Flusha, who is alongside Pierre-Louis Chauvet on the 6th row of the grid. Next up, Oliver Goethe for 3 wide by race, alongside Nicola Maranangeli in the Evans GP car. Michael Belov for Evans GP is alongside Owen Tangevelu in the high-tech Grand Prix machine. Then it is Hamda Al-Kubaisi alongside Levente Revej, Abu Dhabi Racing by PREMA beside Evans GP Academy. His teammate David Morales is next up, and Amner Al-Kubaisi will line up in P20. Then Sally Yaluch and Ayato Iwasaki together on the 11th row of the grid. Behind them it is Khaled Al-Kubaisi in front of Thomas Luedi. And the final 3 cars had problems in yesterday's race. Ido Cohen for the Black Arts team, Lena Bueller in the 3 wide by race GP car, and Dino Beganovic, Dynamite Dino, will have to start from the back of the grid after his lap 1 exit yesterday. So watch him charge his way through the field like wildfire. He's going to be trying to make his way back into the points. So obviously this will be a very interesting race for many different reasons. A lot of drivers out of position. So we're going to have to see how the competitors will run over the course of this very tricky race. It's so odd to see the Dubai Autodrome circuit looking so gloomy and murky. We have been so used to seeing it in a bit of a heat haze and an absolute sun-bathed skyline. But today it is gloomy, murky and grey. Very, very interesting. Hopefully it's not going to cause issues in terms of the weather mid-race. But what this is going to affect is the tyre pressures, because you'll need to adapt that for the slightly cooler track temperature conditions. It won't be as hot. It won't be as intense in the car. So you've actually got a little bit more time to concentrate in some of the smoother apexes around the course. This could actually open up the racing a little bit, because obviously drivers are trying to cope against the elements as well as keep a rhythm. But it's a lot cooler today, so they might just have a little bit more momentum. Plus, it's a reverse grid race in the top 10, so that always makes things very challenging. So we're going to have to see what happens as the competitors continue on their way. So the drivers come to the grid. Arthur Leclerc and Pepe Marti, the championship contenders, line up together on the same row of the starting grid. Definitely going to be interesting to see what they can do in this one, because obviously they're still trying to make sure that they have good points in the bag scored from this one. It's consistency that's going to win you the championship, and we are just 5 races away from crowning our champion. It may be crowned early, depending on how big a lead Arthur Leclerc will have going into the season finale at Abu Dhabi next week, but in 7 days' time we will crown a Formula Regional Asian champion. In this race, it's definitely going to be very interesting to see who comes out with the spoils. The green flag flies at the back of the field, and we are going to go racing for the second time in round 4. Away we go, and it's a cracking start from the front of the grid for our pole sitter Francesco Braschi, but there's barely a start at all for one of the pinnacles. I think that's Delano Van Toff who didn't get away. And as they come down the straight, already there's going to be a challenge to turn 1. It's 3 wide. As up the inside, that is Oliver Behrman getting his way in a second position. Great start from the Brit as he moves his way now into second place through turn 1. And so Oliver Behrman has a chance here. He's got past Braschi. It's Patrick Pasma that's moved into the lead. So Pasma is your leader. Behrman in second place. Barely a start at all from Delano Van Toff. So he has fallen right the way down the field. What a shame for the Dutchman. And Oliver Goethe is already going to watch as Arthur Leclerc and Pepe Marti battle wheel to wheel once again. Oh, and up in the air. My goodness. That was a big launch forward. That was Pierre-Louis Chauvet, I think, getting airborne. 2 in the air and 2 on the deck. He just about manages to get the car together. 3 wide, 2 Evanses in the high-tech. I think that was of Isaac Hajar battling away together. I think that was Hajar, Maranangeli and Belov all having a great little tussle as they come down the straight into the hairpin. Behrman is second place as round the outside Jack Crawford is trying to get into third position. Hajar has had an absolutely atrocious start. He's had no joy at all off the line. So there is Patrick Pasma. He is your race leader. Second place for Oliver Behrman. And in third place, it is Francesco Braschi, the original pole sitter. So already a very dramatic start indeed, but the competitors are doing their best to continue in fine form. But we are going to have a very dramatic race if this first lap is anything to go by. As Arthur Leclerc has had to give best to Pepe Marti on the opening tour. Patrick Pasma going very deep through the hairpin on the top of the camber. And as they continue on their way through, it's looking pretty neat and tidy for Patrick Pasma. Evans GP have not won a race so far this season, and they would dearly love to do so before the season is out. So I would suspect that Pasma is going to be extra brutal in his attempts to keep Oliver Bearman back. And a couple of cars going sideways there. That looked to me like a Vente Revege and one of the Al-Kubaisi sisters. Didn't see which one it was, but certainly those two getting very shaky out of the final turn as Pasma leads. Bearman is second, then Braschi, Crawford, Mini, Marti, Leclerc, Aron, Goethe and Belov. 11th place is Lorenzo Flusha. 12th now is Chauvet, despite his airborne antics. Marinangeli 13th from Tangevelu. Isaac Hajar, yesterday's race winner, is down in 15th position. A nightmare start for the Frenchman as he loses 5 places off the grid. But nowhere near as bad as a fortune as Delano Van Toff, who has come through in 19th place at the end of the first lap. So already there are problems as out in first position, Pasma is leading from Oliver Bearman. As they continue to come through down the back straight, Pasman, Bearman, Braschi, Crawford, Mini, Marti, Leclerc and Paul Aron. Finishing the top 10 at the moment, it is Oliver Goethe and Michael Belov as they come through into the hairpin once again. Drivers just battling for position. That's a late lunge from Belov to try and get past Oliver Goethe. And a good move there from Isaac Hajar to get up the inside of Owen Tangevelu. Tangevelu is going to hold the move. Yes, safety car board. Safety car board is out. So yellow flags. I just saw it in the corner of the screen. So we are under safety car conditions. Not for the first time this weekend. Not entirely sure what the reason for the safety car is, because everybody has completed the first lap. So I would suspect that something has happened at turn 1. Oh, well, that's a stop out on the track for one of the Abu Dhabi by PREMA cars, but I can't tell you which one it is. I can't quite see the number from here, but that is a stoppage out on the circuit. I think it is Amna Al-Kubaisi. So Amna Al-Kubaisi, who was involved in that huge horror crash in race 3 of the opening round of the championship with Chembolik Bassi and Salia Luch. I think she has had a mechanical problem out on the start-finish line. So a big disappointment there for Amna Al-Kubaisi. Oh, it's Hamda. I do apologise. It's Hamda Al-Kubaisi. It's not Amna. So the faster of the two sisters at present, Hamda Al-Kubaisi's car has come to a stop on the main straight. Well, that is devastating for Hamda Al-Kubaisi, who has been battling for top 10 finishes every race this year. Has not always managed to get there, but certainly has been running that sort of pace since the start of the season. But a mechanical problem has put Hamda Al-Kubaisi out of the race on the home straight. So I'm afraid that's more mileage for these two men. Catalan Wojciech and Michael Kozlivski, the safety car drivers, going around once again, getting more mileage under their belts. But for Patrick Pasma, this is not what he needed. He needed to keep this momentum and keep this rhythm in front of Oliver Bearman. Bearman has absolutely nothing to lose as the recovery crews go to work to rescue Hamda Al-Kubaisi's car. Now, that's in a very strange position, actually, because it's come to a stop on the main straight itself. So they're going to have to, I guess, take it down to the exit of the pit lane, essentially. They'll have to drive it in a straight line to the exit of the pit lane and then wheel it back up. Now, based on where the safety car is on track, we're not going to go racing this time by. As long as it's a quick recovery, as long as the car hasn't been locked in terms of its diff sticking on or whatever, we should be able to go racing again on the next racing lap. It won't happen this time because I don't think they'll clear it quite in time for the safety car to come around again. But obviously, that car is in a dangerous position. It's at the fastest point of the circuit, second fastest point of the circuit, I suppose. So you've got to hold the safety car to control the pace of the field on that one. So that is unfortunate, but it's definitely the right decision. So now the safety car has bunched up the field. It is going to be Patrick Pasma in front of Oliver Bearman and Francesco Braschi. If you just joined us, we're under safety car conditions here at the Dubai Autodrome in Race 2, Round 4 of the Formula Regional Asian Championship. Jake Sanson in the commentary box here with you. And Hamda Al-Kubaisi, rather sadly, has had a mechanical problem, and the car has stopped out on the circuit in the main straight itself. So obviously the safety car has to be called because that is a very dangerous position when the cars are flat on the throttle. And it looks to me as though there's been an incident on the run down to the final turn. You can see that the marker board, basically registering that the turn is going to be a right-hander, has been chopped up by one of the cars coming through. So you can see that we're under safety car conditions on the main straight. So the drivers are going to be behind the safety car for at least one more lap. So it's Pasma leading the way. Behrman in second position. Braschi, Crawford, Mini, Marti, Leclerc, Paul Aron, Oliver Goethe and Michael Beloff at this moment in time. So they are weaving from side to side just to try and maintain as much temperature into the tyres and brakes as humanly possible. We're going to go round one more time by the look of it, because obviously the recovery crew have now moved Hamda Al-Kubaisi's car to a safe place, but they obviously have to reset the recovery car's position. But they have to make sure that the safety requirements are done in exactly the right way. Now, David Morales has brought his car into the pits by the look of it. So David Morales in the Evans GP Academy car is going to fall away to the back of the grid. So now I'm not sure what they've changed there. Maybe they've had to make slight repairs to the car, maybe an aero change or adjustment, or maybe he's got some aesthetic damage to the nose cone, whatever it might be. But certainly for David Morales, he's now going to get back out onto the circuit in 26th and last position. So Patrick Pasma will lead on the restart. He has experience of restarts in this car, so he knows how to go about it. Oliver Behrman is only just getting up to speed in this car, but do not think for a moment that Oliver Behrman is not up to the challenge, because this is his second race. Last year, he was the F4 champion in both Italy and Germany. An incredible season for him last year. And he is just taking victories and race wins as if they were biscuits on the dining room table at the moment. He's absolutely plastering his way through the motor racing calendar at the moment. And here he is in Formula Regional Asia, within 0.06 of a second of his teammate Dino Boganovic's qualifying pace yesterday. And now he is in position to challenge for his first win in his second race. So there is a good opportunity here. Francesco Braschi is going to have massive pressure from Jack Crawford and Gabriele Mini on the restart. Pepe Marti and Arthur Leclerc are basically going to be in exactly the same position they were in yesterday. Try and outfox the other. Safety car in this lap. Arthur Leclerc doesn't need to lose a massive amount of points here, because as long as he just stays one place behind Pepe Marti, then he is going to be in a phenomenal position. So there is Katalin Wojciech with Mikhail Kozlowski at his side, and they will peel off into the pits. The safety car will come in this lap. So now we're going to go racing, and it's all going to be, once again, about Patrick Pasma when he decides to drop the hammer and go for it over Oliver Behrman. His restart is going to dictate this race. He has gone for it fairly soon. Behrman is going to be close to him, but not quite close enough to challenge yet. So Behrman's going to have to do some hard work here to rain on Patrick Pasma's parade across the line. And it is green, 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 green. We are racing once again. Patrick Pasma in front of Oliver Behrman. Braschi's already going to have pressure from Jack Crawford into turn one. Crawford's going to try and make the moment happen into turn one. He's going to be side by side, and Crawford will try and go the long way round in turn one. He doesn't quite have the temperature in the tyres. Mini holds off Pepe Marti in a similar manoeuvre behind him as well. And was that Mini actually getting past Marti? No, apologies. He was already in front of him, so Mini holding the position. But Marti being unable to get past Mini has brought Arthur Leclerc back onto the rear wing. So this opening tour is going to be very interesting to explore for these drivers as they try and fight their way for supremacy. There is your leader, Patrick Pasma, hoping to give the Evans GP team their first win of the season. They've worked very hard all the way through the course of the year thus far, but the win has been one of the few elements this season that has not been forthcoming for them. Only 3 teams have won races this year: the 3Y by Race GP, High-Tech GP, and the Mumbai Falcons. And speaking of the 3Y by Race GP team, Francesco Braschi's really going to struggle to hold Crawford off here. Crawford's going to go wide, round the outside, will cut back in on the inside. They'll go wheel to wheel for third position. Can Crawford sustain the pressure here from Braschi? Braschi runs off the road. Crawford is going to try and come right round the outside. Braschi will defend, move to cover. Crawford drifts out. Mini's going to get a chance here to get past the American. So Crawford is now going to hold it to the inside line. Braschi might need to be very careful here. He can't just chop across. Now he does chop across. Crawford's going to commit regardless. He'll go up the inside. Braschi is absolutely resolute. You're not getting through, but he drifts wide. Crawford's going to get his move on the inside. Braschi will hold it back in round the outside, then tucks back in for the right-hander. Crawford is still there. They bang wheels, and this is going to be tough to see who's going to come out on top. Pasma still your leader. Behrman in second. Who's going to get third as they come out of the final turn and across the line? It is Braschi hanging on by a thread at the moment. Now he breaks the toe. Crawford's got a better run off the corner, but he's now in dirty air again. And he's got to try and follow in pursuit. Mini's going to try and make his own bid round the outside. If these two continue to squabble, Mini might get his chance just by being in the right place at the right time. So Pasma, Behrman, and then we've got an absolute snake of cars led by Francesco Braschi. He really is the cork in the champagne bottle right now, and there is a big load of bubbles trying to get out. So Crawford, Mini, Marti, Leclerc, Aron, Belov and Goethe all in this train behind Francesco Braschi in third position. Braschi is trying to hang on to this podium for dear life, but this is exactly what Pasma and Behrman wanted. They wanted the rest of the field to be held up, so now they can just bid amongst themselves for the race victory. As we now have Lorenzo Fluscia all over the back of Oliver Goethe as they go down the back straight. That's another car to join the train. And down to the hairpin. Oh, that's going to get interesting as Belov has a go at Aron. While Braschi continues to defend. Marti's going to make a late bid on Gabriele Mini. Is there going to be enough space for the two of them? Oh, it got very close, to be fair. Pasma, Behrman. Braschi still just about hanging on from Crawford. But Crawford is still trying every trick in the book, and so is Pepe Marti to get past Gabriele Mini. Watch out for the move. Leclerc very nearly got hit there by Pepe Marti. He does not want that. One DNF, and this championship fight could suddenly turn on its head. So you've got to be so careful. Up on the inside, that is now a move from Mini to defend from Pepe Marti. They're both going to drift out wide. Arthur Leclerc is going to hunt for an opportunity. It's not going to come naturally. He's just got to wait for it all to unfold, but the two guys in front of him start dueling. Fascinating stuff so far. Are we going to get to see the big lunge from Arthur Leclerc into turn one? He's got to be careful here. You've just got to keep banging in points. Side by side, Marti and Mini. Marti's got a better run off the corner, and he's going to get by. Mini's going to try and cut back. Marti's through into the position. Crawford is side by side with Braschi for third place. Leclerc's going to get up the inside of Gabriele Mini. He goes through. Belov gets through on the inside of Paul Aron behind them as well. He doesn't make the move stick, but he's really going for it. Oh, and Mini's gone off the road. He manages to drop in behind Arthur Leclerc. My goodness, it's all kicking off. This is exactly what I was telling you. The reduction in temperature of the circuit is giving drivers a little bit more confidence in the car, a little bit more faith that the grip will come naturally. They're not having to be quite so delicate with the tyres. They can be a little bit more forceful, so they can now start to make these overtaking moves happen with a little bit more urgency. So still the battle there. This is Madan Angeli trying to shake off his opponents in the middle of the pack. Down the back straight once again. Here comes Crawford. This time he's got an opportunity on Braschi. Braschi's going to need to brake later. Braschi almost steers right into the side of Crawford. Crawford will not relent. Braschi will keep it on round the outside. Crawford will not give him any space he doesn't have to. Braschi keeps the car on the inside line. Crawford's going to hold it right round the outside, and he's through. Jack Crawford finally gets his man into third position, and now here comes Pepe Marti. Marti locks up. Leclerc is the next one on the road, of course, because he got past Mini when the Italian drifted off the road. So now Braschi's having to defend from Marti. Marti's going to draw level. There's not a lot Braschi could do here. Marti's trying to squeeze him at the apex. But Braschi holds it to the inside. Pepe Marti's got to be careful here. They bang wheels. Leclerc's trying to put himself in the middle of it all. And Marti, who holds his nerve, and he's going to get through on the inside. Brilliant from Pepe Marti. You will not intimidate me. He gets through in the hairpin. Excellent from Marti. I tell you what, he is the rookie of the story, but Pepe Marti is showing Lightning McQueen style enthusiasm and energy around the course. Absolutely brilliant for Pepe Marti. This is excellent stuff from the Spaniard, and now Leclerc is going to line up Braschi for the move. This is absolutely awesome, as Marti is now going to try and shake off Braschi. Look at Pasma, though. He is pulling clear. Pasma's got good speed here. Behrman in second, Crawford in third, and then we've got Marti, Braschi, and Leclerc. So Braschi is really struggling to keep these tyres under wraps. Leclerc has an opportunity. He thinks about it. Braschi's got to move across to cover the line once again. This is absolutely phenomenal stuff, and still the racing continues. There is Lorenzo Fluscia trying to get his move on Belov. So Fluscia is into the points again. That's another point coming his way. Beganovic, by the way, has moved up into 16th position. So Beganovic is definitely making his way back up, as is Isaac Ajar. He's up to 13th. Here we go. Arthur Leclerc is going to try and make his bid on Braschi. He's going to have to go the long way round if he wants to make this work. Braschi won't give him the opportunity. Watch out, because you've got Gabriele Mini trying to come back at you, Arthur. So Arthur Leclerc is going to make his bid, but he can't get through. He's got to think about the championship here. He does not want his car to be damaged, because it doesn't just affect him for one race, it'll affect him for race 3 as well. So you've got to be so careful. All it takes is one incident with a driver like Francesco Braschi or Gabriele Mini around him, and Pepe Marti will suddenly take a big chunk out of that championship lead. So Arthur Leclerc has got to be so delicate here. He's got to be very careful. Decisive, authoritative, but also calculating. Pasma is stretching away from Oliver Bearman now. Crawford in 3rd place. Pepe Marti in 4th, looking good for another solid finish. But then we've got Braschi basically holding up the queue, and this could get very interesting. Hajar going through. So across the line they come once again. 12 minutes remaining. And across the line, Pasma, Bearman, Crawford, Marti, and then Francesco Braschi holding up a long train of cars, which has Leclerc, Mini, Aron, Belov, Flusha, Chauvet, Goethe, Hajar, Vanthof, Marinangeli, Dino Beganovic, and Owen Tangevelu in amongst it. But this man, Patrick Pasma, is where he wants to be. He is in the lead. He is stretching it nicely. And this is exactly what he came to do. Perfect run so far from the Finn. Oliver Bearman in 2nd position. Then Jack Crawford. Then Marti. But Braschi is doing his very best to hold on to P5. But it's really going to be a tough one, the way things are currently stacking up. There is the 27. That is Delano Vanthof, having moved his way through the pack and is now up into 14th position. Where on earth could Delano Vanthof be in this championship fight had it not been for all the bad luck he's had in these 4 weekends? Because he could easily have been on the podium. He got a terrible start to this race. He missed the entirety of Abu Dhabi for an illness on his way to the car for qualifying. So very unfortunate. He's had no end of bad luck this season, as Dino Beganovic is trying to work his way through the field. He's currently locked in a battle with Nicola Marinangeli for 15th position. Can he make his way through? It's not so easy. The problem is he hasn't got as fast a car in terms of the situation that he had last week, because last week he was the guy on fresh tyres cutting his way through the field. Now he's really struggling to do that because he's got some slower cars in front of him, yes, but it's not easy to overtake once you're in the gaggle of traffic. And now he's going to cut his way through on the inside. That was nicely done from Dino. So that puts him into 15th place. He manages to get his bid there and moves up into 15th position. His next target is going to be Delano Vanthof. So from his point of view, he's got through the comparatively easy drivers to overtake. Now he's really going to struggle because there are some big names in front of him. And he's going to be pressurizing all of them to make a mistake, but he's only got 10 minutes to do anything about it. As Braschi continues to hold on in front of Leclerc, Mini, Aron, Belov, and Flusha. Beganovic still keeping his nerve in front of Nicola Marinangeli. Now, championship ramifications. It's worth having a look at this at the moment, because at the moment Pepe Marti is on course for 4th place and 12 championship points. Leclerc is in 6th place and on course for 8 championship points. That would reduce his championship lead from 32 points to 28, as Oliver Goethe runs wide there, and unfortunately that is going to cost him the position to Isaac Hajar, who gets through into 12th place. So Arthur Leclerc is again going to lose some points here, but the lead will drop from 32 points to 28, which is still more points than you get for a race win. So whatever happens, Arthur Leclerc, if it stays like this, is going to leave Dubai Autodrome for the last time with the championship lead heading into the season finale at Abu Dhabi next week. But he's just got to stay cool, calm and collected. He doesn't want to get himself into hot water. There is Oliver Bearman, the young man from Chelmsford, doing an excellent job at the moment in 2nd place in the Mumbai Falcons car. He is very much the equal of his 3 teammates. But Patrick Pasma, they've set this car up perfectly for him to run from the front. They knew he would have a chance to win the race. And Patrick Pasma, well, he was a race winner last year, so you can bet your bottom dollar he's not going to lose a chance to win the race here if he can help it. And let's not forget that Oliver Bearman is still learning this car. I spoke to him about driving it yesterday. He said it's the most physical racing car he has ever driven. He was actually joking. He's worried that when he goes to FIA Formula 3 later this year, he'll snap the steering rack when he goes to Bahrain because he's having to work it so hard here. So this is a very interesting circuit and a very interesting car for Oliver Bearman to be getting used to. It's incredibly physical, very similar in style of driving to the Formula 2 car, but it really does bring out the physicality of a racing driver. You have to be so strong. Your upper body strength in particular has to be incredibly brutal. So the fans enjoying the show. Pasma, Bearman, Crawford, Marty, Braschi, Leclerc, Mini, Aron, Belov and Flusha. That is your top 10 at the moment. Those are the drivers that are going to score points. And Pasma is actually starting to pull away from Oliver Bearman at the moment to the tune of 3.2 seconds now. So Pasma is solidly in the 156s, whereas everybody else is struggling to maintain that sort of pace. Only really Jack Crawford and Pepe Marti can match that. And they are starting to catch Oliver Bearman a little bit. So Bearman is going to find a little bit of an issue coming his way in the last 7 minutes. In fact, there is the issue. Jack Crawford is all over the back of him now. So the American is going to make a play on Oliver Bearman sooner rather than later because he's got confidence in this car. He's been racing for the last 3.5 weekends with it. He knows what the car can do. Oliver Bearman is still registering that. He's still figuring it out. So this is definitely going to be a battle of exploration for Oliver Bearman as he tries his best to hang on in front of the American Jack Crawford. There is Paul Aron. He's currently locked in a duel with Gabriele Mini and Michael Belov, the Russian, with Lorenzo Flusha in behind them. And then it is Pierre-Louis Chauvet ahead of Isaac Ajar, Oliver Goethe, Delano Van Toff and Dino Beganovic from Maranangeli, Tangevelu, Revej, Iwasaki. And in 20th place, it is Ido Cohen. And then Lena Bueller from Amner Al-Kubaisi. Khaled Al-Kubaisi leads the Masters race, by the way, in front of Sally Aluch, David Morales and Thomas Thuwedi. There is a drive-through penalty being handed out to Francesco Braschi. Francesco Braschi is being given a drive-through penalty. So that must be for his manoeuvres earlier in the race. Francesco Braschi then coming into the pit as Crawford goes wheel to wheel with Bearman. He's going to go right round the outside. Bearman's going to hold him. Oh, they bang wheels. And Bearman is not going to be hustled by Jack Crawford. Oh, Oliver Bearman showcases his incredible audacity as he hangs on in front of Jack Crawford. Crawford thought the move was made there. He thought Bearman would be a little bit more forgiving. Not on your Nelly. Oliver Bearman has got his sleeves rolled up and his boxing gloves on. Brilliant stuff. They come out of the hairpin onto the back straight. And now Jack Crawford is going to need to pull out something special to get past Oliver Bearman in this one. Pasma is out in front. He's got the win nailed to the flagpole. But Bearman and Crawford are going to have an amazing duel now. There we go. And up to the middle of the circuit. Oliver Bearman is going to keep Crawford at bay. So Crawford's got to go the long way round. Bearman can keep the car nice and planted in the middle. Hold Crawford at the line. Excellently done. So Crawford really needs to find an opportunity here. He needs to find a weakness. Oliver Bearman doesn't seem to have many at the moment. Jack Crawford is going to have to try and find an opportunity. He's going to try and expose a weak spot. And in 4th place, Pepe Marti is just grinning from ear to ear. Now, Arthur Leclerc has managed to get past Braschi, of course, because Braschi has had his drive-through penalty. So Francesco Braschi is going to fall out of the points as a result of that drive-through penalty. It must be for his earlier manoeuvres to try and hold up Crawford, Marti and Leclerc and Mini, because that was very audacious from Francesco Braschi, and they clearly felt it was a little bit too dangerous. Crawford's going to make it the last possible moment to get past Oliver Bearman. Bearman will not give him any room. No chance. Excellent between these two, and still they race for position. And still Oliver Bearman is going to have to defend here from Crawford. Crawford will have to go the long way round. Bearman will cover the middle of the circuit again. Crawford will still be there, but Bearman holds the move. Desperately trying to make sure the back end of the car doesn't turn around because it's so easy to lose the back end in the wash. So Crawford tries again, waiting for his opportunity. The gap needs to open up here naturally. And Crawford is working so hard on the steering. He's not giving an inch here. Brilliant stuff. So this is going to be very tight indeed between these two. Pasma's got the win on a silver plate up front, but Bearman wants 2nd place. He really wants to open his first weekend in the championship with a solid result, and 2nd is better than 3rd. Crawford wants to prove that all of that promise and potential was not a wasted entity. There is your leader, Patrick Pasma. We look back down the straight, and is Crawford going to have his opportunity? He's going to leave it late. No, you don't, says Oliver Bearman. Brilliant. And all of this is bringing Pepe Marti closer to them. So Marti may get his opportunity. So now for Oliver Bearman and Jack Crawford, it's just about patience, and it's also about tenacity. They've got to be so careful. Now, when they cross the line at the end of this lap, there should be 2 laps to go. So we are going to have 2 very tough racing laps here between Oliver Bearman and Jack Crawford. There's no doubting that. They come through into the hairpin again, up the climb, up the crest, and back out off the turn. Crawford's trying to get under the skin of the man in front, Oliver Bearman, and Bearman is not budging. He's not cracking under the strain at all. Still the battle rages. They come off the corner and onto the main straight once again. So now, what can Bearman do to hold Crawford at bay? He's got to really work hard here. Crawford is going to try a big lunge. He's going to squeeze to the pit wall. Bearman is not going to give him any space. Back to the middle of the road. Back round the outside comes Crawford. And again, Bearman moves to cover. Pepe Marti must be grinning from ear to ear. That's it, boys. You play chicken with each other in the braking zone. I'll drive straight past you the second you come into contact. So, tough racing between these two. Bearman and Crawford really leaning on each other in these apexes. And Crawford knows that if Pepe Marti even gets an inch of a chance to get onto the podium, the very wily and determined Spaniard is going to make his move happen. So, Pepe Marti's got to be so careful. Abhinav Krishnakumar is making a very good statement. How did Crawford catch up? Well, it's probably to do with how he has managed the tyres and brakes of the car, because obviously he has more experience in this car than Oliver Bearman does. So he knows the foibles and natures of this car, but Oliver Bearman is still learning it. So Crawford decides not to go for the overtake in turn 10 this time. It's not worked the last 3 laps in a row. He's got to try and keep Oliver Bearman guessing at this stage. Pepe Marti in 4th place, Arthur Leclerc in 5th. So in terms of the championship, the gap between them is going to reduce from 32 points to 30 points. So Arthur Leclerc is still very much in control of the Formula Regional Asian Championship by staying once again in the top 6. He has not failed to finish a race in the points this year. His lowest finish was in race 3 at Dubai in the second weekend of the championship, I should say, when he finished P7. That is the lowest. Oh, sorry, no, he did have a 9th finish in race 1. But again, points finishes everywhere as Pepe Marti pushes very hard. He did Crawford, last minute lunge. No chance. Bearman moves to cover it off. And so now, down the straight, they will go into the last lap this time by Patrick Pasma is your leader. Don't worry too much about him. The Evans GP car has got this one done by the look of it. But now Crawford is really going to have to pull out the big guns. He's got to squeeze Bearman at the braking point. This is the only way he's going to drive right round the outside of him. He's going to hold him. He's going to hold him. They bang wheels again. Crawford is not going to relent this time. Marti's going to be all over the back of him. But no chance. Bearman is not going to play ball. No dice. Through the sector. Keeping it nice and planted. Now Marti's closer to Crawford than he has been before. He could try a move here if Crawford has a bit of a hesitation on Oliver Bearman. And in the background, lurking, ever present, is Arthur Leclerc. He feels that he could get on the podium if these 3 end up having an incident, and it wouldn't be a million miles from the realm of possibility. As Ryan Ali rightly points out, catching is one thing, passing is quite another, as Patrick Pasma on the last lap has a country mile. Bearman parks the car in the middle of the road. You can't go left easily, you can't go right easily, and Crawford is going to try and go alongside Oliver Bearman here. As we watch the drivers coming through, still Bearman in 2nd, Crawford in 3rd, 4th place is Marti, and he's really going to have to work hard here. Crawford is going to try and go the long way round. The back end steps out, but he gets a faster acceleration point because he's been slow in, so he can be fast out. He's got a chance. Bearman is going to squeeze into the inside. He'll try and hold the car in the middle of the road. He uses a lot of curb to defend. Into the right hand, into the left hander. Pasma out in front. He's going to take the victory. No problems at all there for the Finn. As he comes through, Patrick Pasma is going to be victorious, and Evans GP will win their first race of the season. Great race from Patrick Pasma. He wins. It is a fantastic result, but who is going to get 2nd of the drivers behind? They will come to the line almost side by side, and it's Crawford. Crawford's got it. Jack Crawford right at the line. I think it was Crawford. It was tough to tell as they came through. Crawford got a bit of a squirrely exit as they came through. Yes, Crawford by 0.092 has got the job done over Oliver Bearman. Wowee! Patrick Pasma wins, but Crawford versus Bearman to the line, and the American is triumphant. Oliver Bearman does still get a podium finish, though, in his second race in Formula Regional Asia. Well done to Jack Crawford. That was one heck of a drive on the last lap. I think that was around the outside in the final corner. Sadly, we cut away from it at the wrong moment. But what a drive from Jack Crawford. Second place after all the misery, after all the misfortunes that the Red Bull Juniors have had in the first 3 weekends of the season. Yesterday, Isaac Ajar got the win. Today, Jack Crawford gets a brilliant second place. And what a performance from our victor, Patrick Pasma. You cannot take it away from him. An excellent race win and a phenomenal drive from the Finn. So Patrick Pasma comes through for his first race win of the season, and that is going to put him right up into the top 10, I believe, of the Drivers' Championship. Not quite, actually. That's going to move him up into 12th position, I think. Well, there you go. What about that for a battle between Bearman and Crawford? They run side by side, which is usually a mark of respect between the two drivers. They enjoyed that battle. I think Bearman will be a little bit frustrated that he couldn't quite overhaul Jack Crawford, but Crawford has 3 weekends more experience in this car than Oliver Bearman does. So full credit to the youngster for Mumbai Falcons. Oliver Bearman has done a very solid job there to come home in 3rd. He really has been spectacular. But a great victory for Patrick Pasma. The Finn has been mighty in his pursuit of race victory. He's had a 13th, an 8th, a 5th, a 9th, and now a victory. So great job from Patrick Pasma. There is Oliver Bearman, 3rd position, a great performance from him. Could so easily have been 2nd, but once he gets used to the tyres and brakes, he will have a great run, I'm sure, next week at Yas Marina. He still has one more race to go, don't forget, later on, and anything could happen in that one as the sun finally starts to push out over the circuit. What a great race that was, and what a brilliant, worthy victor Patrick Pasma is. Terrific stuff. Absolutely sensational from Patrick Pasma. He gets the win. 2nd place for the American Jack Crawford, and that will give the Abu Dhabi Racing by PREMA team a lot to smile about. That's their highest finish of the season, equal with what Paul Aron did yesterday. But for Patrick Pasma, he's back. It's like he never left, isn't it? Patrick Pasma, his last win was last year. And for Oliver Bearman, a worthy podium in his 2nd race. The Mumbai Falcons CEO, Moy Tungakar, is the first to congratulate him down there with Arman Ibrahim. But fabulous racing from Oliver Bearman. He really has shown that he is just as good as Sebastian, Artur and Dino. Terrific stuff. Absolutely brilliant. And Pepe Marti, once again, manages to take a couple of points off of Artur Leclerc. It's only 2 points off of him. And once again this weekend, the Masters battle goes the way of Salih Alouch. He has made massive progress, and now he has come through in 1st position. It is Thomas Luwadi that comes through in 2nd place, and Khaled Al-Kubaisi, for once, comes through in 3rd. Now, a warning flag went out in the closing stages of that race to Thomas Luwadi, so I'm not sure what that was for. But let's go through the provisional results. Patrick Pasma, your winner from Jack Crawford and Oliver Bearman, 7.2 seconds clear in the end. Pepe Marti in 4th from Artur Leclerc. Then Michael Belov in 6th position. And the remaining point scorers are Gabriele Mini, Paul Aron, Lorenzo Flusha, and Pierre-Louis Chauvet. After that race, it means that Artur Leclerc's lead in the championship has reduced from 32 to 30 points. Isaac Ajar fights back to 11th. Oliver Goethe in 12th from Delano Van Toff and Dino Beganovic. Nicola Marinangeli and Owen Tanjavelu. Ayato Iwasaki, Levente Revej, Lena Buehler, and Francesco Braschi, who drops all the way to 20th after his drive-through penalty. Amner Al-Kubaisi in front of Salih Alouch, then David Morales, Thomas Luwadi, and Khaled Al-Kubaisi. The retirements were Ido Cohen in the Black Arts and Hamda Al-Kubaisi, who broke down at the end of the 1st lap with a mechanical problem. So fascinating stuff then from race 11, I should say, of the championship. So a fabulous point there from Patrick Pasma to get the victory. And Jack Crawford, a fighting and determined drive over Oliver Bearman. Excellent stuff and a great display from them. It really was sensational racing from our drivers, and they gave us quite the show. So there they are down in pit lane, the 2 podiums, one for the overall and one for the Masters. Sally Aluch picking up another Masters race victory. But Patrick Pasma giving Evans GP their first race win of the 2022 Formula Regional Asian Championship campaign, with Jack Crawford fighting to second place on the very last lap to pip Oliver Bearman, the new boy, by just 92 thousandths of a second over the line. This season really is giving us some brilliant entertainment, isn't it? Well, there is one more race to go this weekend, and that will put Paul Aron back on pole position later. But for Mumbai Falcons fans, they may not be winning all the races this week, but Arthur Leclerc is still 30 points clear in the championship fight, and that is more points than a race win gives you. Delano Van Toft stalling at the start really did open things up for a lot of drivers as they tried their best to work forward. It was a good start from Patrick Pasma that put him out in front of Francesco Braschi, and from there, he never looked back. Watch how he did it. He squeezed Braschi in between himself and Bearman, and then it was Braschi that essentially had to back down. So Oliver Bearman slotted nicely into second place. There was some good moments on the opening lap. Looked as though there was some contact there. That might have been what put Hamda Al-Kubaisi out of the race. I think it might be even suspension damage to the car. The safety car was deployed. On the restart, Pasma got it nice and neat from Bearman. And then Crawford spent a few laps trying to deal with Francesco Braschi. Eventually, the Italian would end up getting a drive-through penalty for his antics, trying to squeeze drivers off the racetrack and even trying to force them wide in the braking zones. So Francesco Braschi feeling the wrath. Paul Aron getting very close and personal with Michael Beloff. That was the move that triggered the drive-through penalty for Francesco Braschi. Too deliberate and too forceful going down to the braking zone. But this battle between Bearman and Crawford went to the line. Pasma victorious, Crawford second, Bearman third. Race 3 coming up later.
Keep your eyes out on Mumbai Falcon.
Some interesting stuff coming up. Look forward to racing to the future.